Hey guys, I'm Phoenix Gray and this is LitRPG Happy Hour, where I sample LitRPG and alcoholic beverages. Feel free to drink along if you dare. Today I am going to be reading a sample of Underworld, Level Up or Die by Thorne, and I'll be playing a game along with it called Healing Potion, where I will take a drink anytime a character heals or buffs. If you want to follow along, pause this video and download a copy of the book sample at the link provided, or you can just take a drink whenever I do. As a disclaimer, I do not read every book that I drink to. This is all for fun and to help spread the word about LitRPG and these awesome books. Having said that, let's get started. So today I'm going to be drinking these twisted Shotz. Miami Vice is the flavor. It's 20% alcohol by volume. I've had these in my fridge for a while, so I'm actually kind of curious to finally drink them. Anyway, prologue. Her mistress's throne room was decked out just like the pillowed dungeon you would imagine a millennia-old succubus would have. Fabrics and cushions in gaudy reds, purples, and gold warmed up the gray stone walls and floors as much as could be hoped for. What was missing were the hypnotic tones and trance-inducing beat that would be common except on special occasions. A pearl-white throne with blood-red fabric was graced by a modestly dressed lady. Her purple Victorian gown had full-length sleeves and didn't even leave any leg or cleavage for the imagination. The odd-fashioned statement by the otherwise lusty, full-lipped succubus wasn't lost on the lich. "Mistress Lilith, if I may be so bold, why are you dressed so elegantly?" she interrupted, challenging his resolve, even though she had no doubt expected him to ask. Having second thoughts, she answered the question on his mind. Yes, she sighed. It certainly must be odd to see one of my kind dressed so finely, let alone wearing so much clothing in the first place. After 1,000 years I'm tired of males of every race ogling me. How would you feel after daily having every man's lecherous eyes feasting upon you? The lich couldn't help himself. A full belly laugh erupted from his skeletal frame. "Forgive me, headmistress," he said immediately, knowing he had crossed the line. Obviously not happy with him, she demanded, as a threatening cold energy resonated from her. "What's so funny?" "You capture and leech the life out of the men who you are accusing of being lecherous. Not only that, you are the queen of leeches. That is why I agreed to our deal." He could tell she was still upset, but her pride had been invoked. He had wisely stroked her ego enough to hopefully save himself from a headache later, restoring their working relationship. Their deal, after all, could grant them both great power. And it's the fact that I have grown tired of the act that has led me to our agreement. Leeching energy through magic is a much cleaner and more refined way of growing more powerful. On that we both agree. You do look lovely. It will make our meetings easier to manage. She nodded at his compliment, but picked up on the last part of his statement. Easier to manage? Perhaps he shouldn't have gone as far as he did. She wasn't a lady in a gown, after all, but the ruler of all succubi in the West, and likely the most powerful one in existence. He had best remember that, even if she no longer desired to round up and feast upon men in the same way that came naturally to her. "Yes, mistress. In this attire I can enjoy your presence while not undertaking too many distractions." With a raised brow she pushed him a little further. "So my race's normal dressing habits would distract you? A lich? How so? You have no flesh." "Very true, which gives me immunity to some of your more persuasive abilities, but I was, and still am, a man." Noted. Though she didn't show any indication that this new bit of information affected her, he knew that she would test him later. How foolish had he been? It was time for a change of topic. "If I may, I have some news that I think might please you." For the first time a grin tugged at the corner of her mouth. "Oh yes, please. How is our little project coming?" "Everything is prepared. We begin tonight." With the thought, the shadow-cloaked skeletal lich turned into a hunchbacked old man in a servant's attire. Chapter 1. Kidnapped. Ranch dressing. It's a magically delicious concoction that should be put on everything. Steak, burger, sandwiches, chicken, more chicken, anything with bacon. Bacon? The two most wonderful things in the world, ranch dressing and bacon. Well, not quite, but I, Alorian, was a gamer. Food and gaming went well together, so dreaming about food while logged in on my favorite VR gaming chair was a great way to prepare myself for my next meal. It also helped pass the time while I was grinding or doing repetitive boring stuff to level up my game character. The sacrifice was often fierce, but with enough bacon, anything was possible. Unleashed hellfire on another Minotaur sentry, seasoned fries dipped in ranch dressing, lightning strike from heaven empowering my hammer to forge some epic magic weapons, bacon pizza with extra bacon. spamming items for sale in the town square. Ranch dressing and applesauce. Wait. Well, I'd try it. Okay, I'd had enough. I needed food. Logging out, it took a moment before my VR headset gave me the red light that I was safe to take it off. As I pulled the full VR helmet off of my head, I saw the ugliest flying lizard in the history of the world hovering a foot from my face. My first reaction was to scream like a macho-less girly man, and scream I did. No, wait, it was not a lizard because its snout was human in shape and its skin was green-gray in color. Now that's the sound I expect a fat, lazy human to make. Congratulations, you have passed the test. Test? Why hadn't I hit this flying, obnoxious, turtle-headed thing in the face yet? Instead of reacting as I should, all that came out of me as I faced a creature that shouldn't exist is, I'm not an I'm an imp. My job is to kidnap you, so come along. You can talk? I asked dumbly, completely missing what the creature just said about kidnapping. No, I can't. You've just wasted your life playing so many video games that you have gone insane. I don't really exist. You're just saying things. Oh, and by the way, he lifted his hand and pointed a single finger at me, then said, bind. A dim gray light extended from his finger. It was quick but slow enough that it could be seen with the naked eye. He was a foot from me, so there was no dodging it, whatever it was. My arms shot to my chest, one over the other, and my heels clashed together. Something like an ethereal rope bound me, and I suddenly found myself falling off my chair, flapping around like a caffeinated walrus. There was no way of loosening what had bound me. Time for your first lesson. You are a weak creature, only level 31. Fairly impressive, I suppose, for someone so young who is also so lazy, but humans normally go to between level 40 and 70 in their lifetime. That is incredibly low in the realm of the Underworld. This binding spell is also fairly weak in general, but mine is a high level because I get to capture losers like you for coin. Anyways, the point of the story is that you're weak and useless right now. You'll be given an opportunity to level up, and hopefully, in time, you will be able to break this spell in mere moments. For now, you go where I want. I tried to speak, but the binding spell had also covered my mouth. Note to self. Next time you see an imp, punch it in the face. Who is he calling fat and lazy? I played soccer and ran track, but it was summer, so it was off-season. Besides, I still worked out. Sometimes. Fine, I'd gained 15 pounds. I did plan on getting in shape for my senior year in high school. My mom kept reminding me that she wasn't going to cook for me forever. With a mix of panic and focus, I forced myself to examine my situation. When the imp said another command and I was suddenly floating, I gave him another round of walrus aerobics. The next thing I knew, the imp whispered something and blew in my face. My eyes began to blur and I felt woozy. I was about to lose consciousness and I hadn't even gotten my snack. Oh, this is cute. Alright, Chapter 2. Goodbye, ranch dressing. I awoke leaning back against a cold stone wall. The first thing I noticed was how hungry I was. Hadn't I been getting up to get a snack? The room was one of shadows. To either side of me were other people, both guys and girls, about 20 of us all together. Everyone was starting to come to. They wore simple uniform gray pants and long-sleeved shirts. Their shoes were leather that reminded me of moccasins, except they were laced up the middle. Wait. Looking down, I saw I had identical clothing on. Remembering the shellless turtle with wings, I turned my head, frantically searching the shallow room for my kidnapper. I really need to punch him in the face right now. He must have violated me by stripping me and changing my clothes. I heard someone enter the room before I saw them. Movement came from the darkest area on the far side, which I assumed was an open doorway. To its side, I could barely make out ranks of equipment on tables with an inclining face that was nearly the length of the wall. Was this a torture chamber as well? Welcome to my labyrinth, came the most seductive of voices. You have been handpicked from the human race to be energy sources for your beloved head mistress, Lilith. The voice belonged to an extremely beautiful and extravagantly dressed woman. To her side was a hunched-over man in a butler's suit. Energy sources? You watch too many sci-fi movies, lady. Where's the food? With the raising of his hand and the whisper of his lips, the hunched man produced a large glowing globe that shone softly but somehow filled the room. You see, I brought you here so that you can make something of yourselves. Each and every one of you spends the majority of your time trying to escape their current existence through video games. Here in my labyrinth, the games you spend so much time playing will become your reality. You will get to level up in real life as you fight monsters, find items, and most of all, try to survive. The solemn moment was quickly broken by a chorus of outrage from my fellow captives. The only thing that anyone had heard was energy sources. Now everyone was on their feet demanding to go back home. I stayed sitting, taken aback by what was said. processing each word. My interest was piqued, even if it made me feel dirty for even considering it. Stepping forward, Mr. 10,000 Wrinkles for a Face, the butler, responded. His voice didn't match his appearance. He sounded like a young man in his prime. Your outrage is not unexpected, but let me help persuade you. Headmistress, if you please. This is a magic that has taken half a century to develop, she said. Swirling masses of darkness the size of small ropes came from her palm and wrapped themselves together into a ball. Branding. At her word, the dark magic shot out toward all of the captives in the room, including myself. It was too difficult to see with the limited light in the room, so when it strung itself around my neck, there was little I could do to stop it. The dark rope tightened and turned into a black-hot coal. The sudden searing of skin sent electricity up and down my spine, my fists clenched. Thankfully, I had still been sitting, so when I fell, it didn't knock me out. The pain is necessary to bind you to the headmistress for the collecting of the energy that naturally escapes your body through normal activity. This will not take your energy directly from you. It is an energy catch of sorts. Even low-level creatures like yourselves are constantly leaking energy. As you level up, the amount will only grow. It doesn't matter where you are in the underworld. Just like your internet, this excess energy is already being sent to us through a network of magic. Furthermore, you are now marked by her grace. If she wishes to locate you, it is as simple as a thought. I joined the sighs and complaints of my fellow captives with clenched teeth. Escape is not possible unless you want to flee to your death. Here, he motioned with his hands to the surrounding room, is your only place of safety. Monsters await if you leave this new home that I have prepared for you. Suddenly, the wrinkly man clapped his hands together before him, and a pop-up window the size of a normal sheet of paper shot up in front of me. From the immediate silence, everyone else had the same window that came up in front of them as well. This is your status screen. Your branding does not come without gifts. The ability to access your leveling system is something that few humans have had access to for nearly 1,000 years. Anything under level 100 is considered what you would call newbies in the underworld. Most humans don't reach level 100 in a single lifetime. I know you're used to starting a game at level 1, but that wouldn't be realistic. It doesn't take into context the different stages of a human's life. All of you are around level 25 to 35. Character sheet. Name, Alorian Edwards. Characteristics, gamer, athletic, lives with parents, waiter at cheap restaurant, meat lover, connoisseur of ranch dressing. Unknown future. Race, human. Age, 17. Level, 31. Health points, 590. Mana points, 190. Endurance, 400. Attributes, strength, 47. Dexterity, 58. Constitution, 59. Intelligence, 38. Wisdom, 30. I was blown away. The screen looked like old worn parchment. My level really was 31. As an ex-soccer player, my stats reflected my athletic career with a higher constitution and dexterity, but how did I compare to others? This is you. You have all played games, so you know what each of these categories means. Your stats and levels will vary. Normally, humans have a base of 10 attribute points for each category and get about 5 attribute points to spend per level, but if you train, you can gain attribute points without leveling up. Look closely at your levels and stats. You are all rather pathetic, but each of you was chosen because of your love of role-playing games and surprisingly high potential. To help with this, our beloved mistress here is going to grant you a few gifts. You will now receive a rush of insight, or experience as you call it. Even with this help, it is likely some of you will die today. With a nod of her head, the lady with deep red hair and purple dress lifted her hand, and blue strands of light shot out like a spider's web, striking each of us in the head. A chime went off in my head, and the words, "Level up," in see-through yellow floated up quickly from the floor and disappeared just above my head. It was nothing compared to the rush of clarity that seemed to flood my mind. Without hesitation, I looked to my status screen, and my level read 38. I now had 35 attribute points to spend however I so desired. 7 levels? Not bad. Just moments ago, the people I was sitting next to were contemplating a rebellion. Now they were all carefully examining their screens, completely oblivious to how easily they had been distracted from their anger. There were a few exceptions. One girl still sat against the wall hugging her knees. A guy was obviously distracted by the mistress's womanly qualities, and a couple of girls were huddled in the back holding each other. Oh, and a red-headed guy still had his head propped against the wall and was sleeping. Now, I would highly recommend that you allow me to finish before you spend your points. A maniacal laugh interrupted. Too late! An already large guy with a crew cut, who reminded me of your typical football lineman, started pumping his finger against his screen that was ethereal to me, but very clear to him. Before my eyes, he began to grow. Not only did he get slightly taller, but his muscle mass increased almost 50% before our eyes. My chin dropped to the floor. Everyone went nuts. At least 2 other guys started pumping away at their screens. Talk about a newbie move. How can you min-max without knowing how the game system worked? Wrinkleman waited until the noise died down before he spoke again. As I was saying, next we will unlock your natural talents. Some people are naturally stronger, others faster, others smarter, and some have special abilities or proficiencies with magic, although a number of you could probably do with an extra 50 points in intelligence and wisdom. The murmur of my fellow captives was silenced at the mention of magic. Depending on your talent, it might be wise to spend your points on attributes that will benefit what you are naturally good at. It is my turn for this trick. He held up his hands, palm out, and closed his eyes in concentration. A yellow light was emitted, almost like he had a light bulb in either hand. Take your time to examine the windows before you. Warmth entrapped me. That was when I saw another pop-up window, about half the size, on top of my status window. The first pane was titled Skills. A number of mini windows popped up within this main window. There were dozens of these. Many of them were just acknowledging things I already know. Intermediate logic, intermediate sprinting, intermediate distance running, intermediate high jump, intermediate cooking, novice persuasion, expert procrastinator, etc. I closed each mini window, making sure to check each one, but there were no surprises. When I closed the skill window, I found a delightful surprise under it. Spells. A few mini windows had popped up here, too. Light magic proficiency, lesser heal, talent, natural healer. The talent window, which was the only window that mentioned the talent the old man mentioned, read as follows. Light magic affinity. Due to a natural affinity with light magic, the user's healing spells will heal health, endurance, and exhaustion. As individual spells level, this can grow to heal status effects as well. Healing spells will level faster than normal. No, this was terrible. I didn't want to be a support character. Give me lightning or fire. Give me a big gnarly club for all I cared to bash stuff. But why did my talent have to be healing? Blue magic. You now have access to blue magic. As I closed the window, I leaned closer to a second window under it in hope. Lesser heal. This is the novice level healing spell for those who have unlocked the light magic alignment. Base healing of 100 HP, base cost of 50 MP. Creature observation. This is the basic skill that all blue magic is based upon. It allows you to steal the natural skills of other creatures and mimic their abilities through magic. That was all it said. Unlocked? What did that mean? Blue magic could be better than healing, though, right? Very good indeed. The hunched-over wrinkled man was using some kind of examination skill on each of us in turn. Talent Constitution, talent Persuasion plus Speed, talent with Traps, talent with Wind Magic, talent with Strength, Fire Magic, Green Magic Spell, Tangling Roots, talent with Dexterity. He went on and on, not missing a single one of us. 1 in every 3 people had a talent in some kind of magic, but no one else had healing or blue. Stopping when he came to me, he sighed. When the lady joined him in examining me, she whispered just loud enough for me to hear, "He has old blood." "You there," Mr. Wrinkleman called me to attention. "Yeah?" I replied, more than a little startled considering he was standing directly in front of me. "You stink. Healing magic gives off a scent to those sensitive to it. I assure you that being a healer wasn't my first choice." "Mistress?" Old Man Wrinkles asked. Under her gaze, I immediately felt my heart beat faster. She was incredibly beautiful. I didn't deserve such attention, but I certainly wanted it. "You will probably be dead soon." She tapped a few times on her chin with a long, slender finger. "Here's a consolation prize." A ball of yellow light shot from her hand and ended in my chest. A new mini pop-up window came up under spells. Blue magic, explosive end. The moment before death, you will have the option of directing your remaining mana into a finale of fireworks, injuring the targets you set your sights upon. Note, after you have used this spell, you are dead. There is no way to cheat death and watch the cool effects of explosive end. Dead is dead. If you just so happen to know someone with a resurrection spell, then perhaps, but you will still probably miss the show because of the long cast time of such spells. The mistress smiled. You have a chance to survive longer if you master blue magic. It will allow you to learn skills and spells from the monsters you face. The problem is it is not a quick magic to master. Turning from me to the group, she continued, "Now for some novice spells to help all of you survive." In quick succession, light shot from her hand and hit each of us in the head in turn. 3 different colors of light, white, brown, and green, all hit home. Looking to my new pop-up windows, there were 3 new ones, just like the 3 different beams of light that hit me. Light orb. This orb will obey your will and light up the path before you. The higher the level, the further and brighter the light can extend. This spell can be essential for survival or a power outage. Mage's deodorant. When unable to use deodorant because of unavailability, poverty, or strange religious alignment, this spell will keep you from adding smelly funk to your social engagements. The smell is neutral. As this spell levels up, you can add special sense for any special occasion. You gotta be kidding me. Why bother? Give me a damage spell already. With my fingers crossed, I exited the screen and viewed the last one. Horror. Mage's toilet paper. Never run out of this household essential again. For anywhere you find yourself, you will never be without. As the spell levels up, lotion can be added to the effects of the spell. These are great. Are you serious? I guess I could light Mage's toilet paper on fire and throw it at something, but where was the good stuff? These are spells that I demand you use. Light Orb will save your life, but the other two will keep you from totally disgusting me. You will find even my slave imps use these spells often, or find themselves purified to death with fire. Do not neglect them, she warned. Now for equipment. Mr. Wrinkle threw a second ball of light to hover over the far side of the room. The wall was lined with an odd assortment of weapons. You can choose more than one weapon, but be careful not to overburden yourself. Humans are weak, so 2 weapons at the most will benefit you, the lady instructed. Without hesitation, the group of kidnappees headed to the other side of the room, but gave the 2 instructors a wide berth. I examined my spell screen one last time. Besides blue magic proficiency, I didn't get a blue spell other than Explosive End. There was an additional skill called Creature Observation. Turning to the mistress, I tried to activate Creature Observation. Due to an unforeseen force, you are unable to use this skill at this location. Blah, that's no fun. There were a few things missing that I normally expected every MMORPG to have. There was no mini-map or menu where I could find features like an inventory, the party system, etc. Before I joined everyone, I studied the rest of the Light Orb's description. All that is necessary to cast this spell once it is learned is to will it. Saying the name out loud often helps newbie spellcasters to focus the mind correctly. Light Orb, I said. Immediately, a much dimmer version of the orb the old man had cast appeared a meter above my head and in front of me. It was only a matter of thought to move it further back and have it hover over my head. I had just cast my first spell. It was like eating a new food that was no doubt going to be another favorite. Being a blue mage definitely excited me more than being a healer. If I found the right creature, I could wield lightning, fire, or whatever other abilities it might possess. Well, that was common among games. And as the mistress seemed to imply, having gaming experience would help. There was hope. Even though I was among the last to pick out a weapon, I certainly hadn't missed anything. Whether it was a sword, club, or spear, they were all worn, crude, and could probably break after moderate use. You'd think they would give us some decent equipment if they really wanted us to level up. At least the belt I found seemed decent. I sheathed this short sword on either hip and grabbed a spear that would make a better walking stick than a weapon. Just because healers always used bashing weapons, I grabbed the one-handed mace that I strapped across my back. 1 to 2 weapons max. I was a gamer. It was time to take advantage of free loot while there was an opportunity. Besides, until I knew what I was up against, I would rather keep my options open. I could always rest between fights. Sadly, there were no armor to speak of. I wasn't exactly a fan of paladin-type class, but if I had to be a healing tank, that would be better than a full-time healer. Eyeing the majority of the men in the group, with the exception of 3 or 4 of them, I seemed to be among those in the best shape. Gamers aren't always the most active people in the world, as the most common attribute in the room, chub, confirmed. Only half of the girls in the room had this same problem. Most of them were in much leaner shape. No one in the room was what I would call chunky. The only one close was the now massive lineman-looking guy. His muscle mass made up for his gut. Mr. Wrinkle and the mistress were looking at me as I realized I had spaced out. Was I an idiot for not taking their advice with regard to taking 1 to 2 weapons? Glancing around, I saw the players were all staring at me as well. I was the last one to gather a weapon, or in my case, 4. This room will now belong to all of you as a group. You can add and take items from these racks as you want in the future, the old man said, with one last look at me to see if I would put any equipment back. I just grinned like I was oblivious to his and everyone else's objections. There's also a kitchen with a bathroom and barracks. To move out of the barracks to your own personal quarters, you will have to earn enough coin or favor to pay for it. Same goes for food. To earn more than 2 meals a day or anything besides gruel and bread, you'll have to do more than survive. To earn coin, you know the drill. The monsters you kill can drop items that have value. The stronger you get, the stronger the monster you can fight, and the better the items and coin you will earn. There will also be more than one merchant to allow for competitive pricing. One last thing before you proceed. As you leave this room, you will pass the dining hall and merchants on the left and the barracks on the right. If you keep heading straight, you will head into the labyrinth. This labyrinth is an area of the underworld under the control of the headmistress. Anything in this area has been summoned for you to fight. The monsters get progressively harder as you go deeper in. In order to leave the headmistress's realm, you will have to become strong enough and complete a few obstacles. The first area you enter into has decaying skeletons that I have personally summoned. They are the weakest of all undead and will prove useful to begin your training. Don't count on making much money from them. Most of them are barely level 50. Any questions? One girl with short brown hair, an elf-like nose and large eyes, gritted her teeth and asked, "Can we go home?" With the sweetest of smiles, the mistress stepped toward her and cocked her head with empathy, or so it seemed. "No, you're mine," she said with mock sweetness. "For 1,000 years I have hunted and devoured your kind. This is the largest group of humans I have been in the same room with that has actually survived in centuries. Don't be mistaken, you're still alive because you have the potential to provide me power. Currently, you are indebted to me, not just for your lives, but that I am giving you a chance to live, and live in a way that each and every one of you has only dreamed of. Welcome to the ultimate role-playing game. Don't dwell on what you don't have, but the opportunity that you do. Otherwise, you will do something stupid and I will suck the life out of you. Any more questions?" Half a dozen of us, including me, stepped forward and placed ourselves between the wicked chick and the girl. The mistress giggled and shook her head. "At least you show the will to fight. We will take our leave. Bread and water will be available in abundance at all times in the dining hall during the first 2 weeks. After that, you will have to purchase anything beyond breakfast and dinner. And don't forget, if you die here, you are really dead. No game overs to start again. Sweet dreams." Sweet dreams? Was it nighttime? In the top right of my status screen, it gave me the time, 4 p.m. What time zone? It didn't say. Not exactly the time to go to sleep. Or was she meaning the final slumber of death? I closed the status screen pop-up window. Before the old man and the mistress left, 4 imps flew into the room, each holding a lamp stand in one hand and the lamp in the other. They placed them in the 4 corners of the room. With that, our kidnappers left. The stone wall was made of massive, misshapen, dull gray stones stacked upon each other. The floor and ceiling were large slabs of rough-cut stones. High-traffic areas of the floor were worn smooth from years of use. Above the imp's head was floating red text, "Servant Imp," and then gibberish. There was gibberish under the creature's description that I assumed was where its level would appear. Because our levels were so much lower than theirs were, the text was red, and it wouldn't even show us their levels. I wondered why the old man and mistress didn't show anything above their heads. Nor did the other humans. Chapter 3. Home base. Bread and some pain. Within now well-lit room, everyone could see each other much better, but no one said anything or even moved at first. The real freak-out moment happened half a minute later, when the reality of what was going on started to really sink in for everyone. I stood back against the weapon rack as everyone unleashed their feelings on the matter with complaints, anger, and tears. Anger was the closest thing to my own response, but I didn't let myself dwell on it. We had just started a new RPG, or role-playing game, a deadly one. More accurately, a MMORPG, or massive multiplayer online role-playing game. It was time to decide which strategy would keep me alive the longest. Stepping up next to the large-eyed girl, I asked her and all those around her, "Do you guys know what time it is?" I received a few shrugs and a single no from the girl that had had the courage to ask what we had all been thinking. Directing them to the status screen, I brought the time to their attention. "Might be a good idea to get some food," I said to no one in particular. A girl that had been standing close with rich caramel skin and shoulder-length extensions rebuked me. "How can you think of food at a time like this?" "Because I don't know when I last ate," I shrugged. "The imp that kidnapped me knocked me out with some spell." "I'd worry more about if the food is even edible," a chubby guy with glasses added. "Might as well find out." When the elf girl, who wasn't really an elf but cute like one, nodded, about 3 other people followed us to find this dining hall. Just as the butler had said, we passed a dark room with cots that must have been the barracks. The merchants were back and off to the side, so I didn't see them or what was for sale as I passed by. Smells of freshly baked bread assaulted our senses, and we were more pulled by the smell to enter the large stone square of a room with about 8 stone tables lined with benches. On the far side of the room was a long table with enough bread for 100 people. They were long loaves the size of my arm. The water was in normal plastic water bottles. I had expected them to be in animal skins or something. So I downed a whole loaf in a few minutes, sitting with 5 other people I had just met. Eating is always good when you have something on your mind. "My name is Eris from New York," the elf-looking girl said, breaking the silence. "My talent is wind magic and dexterity." The rest of the group followed her lead. Everyone was suddenly weighing one another. A hunting group was starting to form. "I'm Travis from Cali. My talent is tracking and piercing weapons." He was on the shorter side but thickly muscled if you didn't count his gamer's gut. "Olivia, I'm from Denver," introduced the girl who had rebuked me about the food. "Nature magic and traps." "Russ, Constitution and blacksmithing, Texas," said the pudgy guy who would probably make a good tank once he slimmed down. "Alorian, Florida, healing and blue magic. I played sports all my life, so I was hoping to fight up front, though. Of course you were, Olivia mocked, eyeing my mini weapons. Since the mistress and old man had given me a hard time, she seemed to think it was appropriate to continue the practice. Before I could think of anything witty to throw back at her, the guy who had pumped his status screen with strength burst in, with about 10 people at his heels. I don't know about you, but the sooner I can make some money, the sooner I can get out of those barracks. The cots are miniature. The rest of the group seemed to be in agreement. Ignoring our group entirely, he marched over and grabbed a loaf and a water bottle, then led his congregation out the way they had come. There was suddenly stir among my group. The competitive gamer in each of them didn't like the idea of a large group getting a head start on them. I was pleased that the group I had fallen into seemed motivated. Staying at the back of my group, I followed as I planned my course of action. I needed first to figure out how to use my creature observation skill and healing spell. Once I got those down, I needed to try and learn as many blue magic spells as possible, but I was afraid it would take quite some time. Not to forget, I needed to pinch in on the front lines as much as I could to make sure I was getting experience. It was a 100-meter walk down the hall to reach the hunting area. At the end of the hall, there was an opening to a room that seemed to have a natural light hanging in the air. Though I couldn't see any door, I guessed there was some kind of magic barrier here keeping monsters out. As we entered the large room, I saw that the ceiling was at least 2 stories up, even if it was hard to see because of the lack of light up there. There were numerous side passages, some well lit and others pitch black. Random light orbs were placed on the walls in seemingly no logical pattern. The larger group was already ahead of us preparing to fight. 3 pathetic-looking, vertically challenged skeletons were roaming on the other side of the room next to them. After overhearing the other group, who had figured out how to open the party system, our smaller group all joined up together. The trick to opening up the party window, or any window for that matter, was to just say party with the intention of opening the window. It seemed to work just like magic. At your will, it would open and close. And then we were joined by an unexpected visitor. "Alorian," called a throaty, familiar voice that summoned an intense anger inside of me. A sudden urge to hit Nymph in the face returned. My party turned to see my kidnapper flying toward us. Or more specifically, me. The imp didn't seem happy to be joining us, at least from what I could tell from his ugly turtle face. "Yes," I acknowledged him. "The headmistress wanted me to teach you some blue magic that might be helpful." He eyed me suspiciously. Something was off. He had mocked me in every way possible, then kidnapped me. If the mistress had really wanted him to teach me, then why didn't she do it herself? What's the catch? Only the quickest way for you to learn blue magic is if you experience the spell yourself. The one I will teach you is a stun of sorts, so I will have to cast it upon you for you to learn it. I doubted he would dare kill me after all the work that went into kidnapping us and bringing us here. My excitement overrode my concern. Okay. He seemed to hesitate when I agreed so easily. The creature smirked before uttering the word pain. A magic cord shot from his finger and struck my chest before I realized what he had just said. Suddenly every muscle in my body flexed tight at the same time, as if an electric jolt had shot through me. It was a moment before the pain began. When it did, it overwhelmed all my senses. All that existed was an intense burning sensation, like all of my muscles were extremely sore and someone was stabbing me in each muscle over and over again. Time no longer had meaning to me. There was nothing but pain. Eventually, as if waking from a deep sleep, all that remained was a searing memory. Opening my eyes, I looked up from my back and saw my torturer and 4 other humans looking down at me in horror. The pop-up window that indicated I had comprehended the blue magic pain was like rubbing salt in my wounds. A new spell had been born for my troubles, but the gamer in me that would have normally been thrilled was enraged. Pain hurts. Standing up, my adrenaline pumped through me. Everyone gave me a wide berth, except the imp, who stood his ground. I ignored him initially, looking down at my hands as they trembled. It was time. Without so much as looking at him, except through my peripheral vision, I relaxed as much as I could manage and relaxed my arms to my side. Stepping forward, I twisted my torso. My father had taught me the key to throwing a punch was to be as loose as possible because muscle tension will slow you down. I brought my hand up, only making a fist milliseconds before contact. My left hook came in from a deceitful angle. It caught the imp square on the chin. He was caught completely unaware. Finally! His neck snapped to the side, knocking him woozy enough that he fell to the floor. There was a popping noise during the impact, but it didn't come from the imp. Hitting the imp's face had been like hitting nothing but solid bone. My fist had connected low on my knuckles, breaking my ring and pinky fingers. I was an idiot. My adventures with pain had just begun. Cheers came from my immediate group as they saw what had just happened. The larger group had moved on and were facing their second set of skeletons already. If I hadn't hesitated, and had just started stabbing the monster before it got back up, it would have been dead, and I would have saved myself from what happened next. I lost my place, my little scroll wheel on my mouse has not been working very well lately. Let's see. You dare challenge a level 200 imp? Everyone around me, including myself, was suddenly filled with terror. I suspected some form of fear spell had been cast. When the imp attacked me again with pain, they ran. I screamed, unable to run, frozen in place like an electrified cat. Before the pain overtook me, I heard the imp say, "I don't have permission to kill you, but there's still a lot of fun we can have before you reach that point." Chapter 4. To hit an imp in the face. Over and over again the imp cast pain. There was no rest. Death sounded like a welcome vacation from the state I was in. Slowly, something started to happen. One way or another, the constant pain started to lessen. Not that the imp had stopped his attack, but it seemed I was getting used to it to a point. Though it was a small step, I was able to open my eyes from my place on the floor. Notification window after notification window were stacked on top of each other. Each of them seemed to say the same thing. Your understanding of the blue magic pain has increased. The spell was leveling as the imp was using it on me? Speaking of spells, my Lesser Hill spell was at my disposal, and I needed to use it. Now. How exactly I pulled it off, I didn't know, for saying any word out loud was difficult. Somehow, what I said had been interpreted correctly, because immediately relief filled me all over my body. Alright, so I'm going to take my first one of these. I'm not going to open this very gracefully. Maybe not open it. Oh, alright, this is starting to... Oh, here we go. Got it. Alright, I don't know what this is actually supposed to be a mix of. Let's see. Strawberry daiquiri. Okay, so one of them is strawberry daiquiri, and the other one is pina colada. That actually sounds like a really good mix, so. I kind of want to try them. Okay, maybe I won't be trying them individually each. I was going to try, but... Yeah, that's actually pretty good. I like it. Alright. A scream came from nearby from the same direction as my torturer. The imp had jumped back. Light, he spat as if it gave him pain. The spell literally caused a blanket of light to fall on me. With the relief from the spell, I was able to track my attacker hovering a few meters away, and there was no doubt. Somehow my healing spell had hurt him. It did make sense, really. It was common in games for healing magic to damage creatures. Oh my god, I can't speak. Let me try that again. It was common in games for healing magic to damage creatures of evil or dark alignments. Normally, though, humanoids weren't harmed by it unless they were undead. Was this a part of my talent? Immediately, I healed myself again. I almost dared to direct it at the imp, but now that my mind was clear, I knew if he was really level 200, then my spell might hurt him, but he would likely retaliate by attacking me with something much more dangerous. Alright, so here's the second one. When I healed myself a third time, the imp spat and left me while mumbling nastily under his breath. Alright. I sat up and caught my breath. Pulling up my status screen, I only had 40 magic points left. It seemed my healing spell cost 50 MP for each cast. Moments ago I was in the middle of the worst pain of my life. Now I suddenly felt refreshed and energized. I took back what I was thinking earlier. Healing was amazing. Then it hit me. It was especially amazing if I could nuke evil and undead monsters for massive amounts of damage. Wait, did someone with healing magic really stink? The old man had said as much. It wasn't until the guy had looked at my screen that he had noticed, though. And the imp hadn't noticed until I had cast it on myself. I'd probably be safe for now. Perhaps as I leveled up healing magic might become an issue then. A mischievous smile spread across my face. Danger or not, healing magic had just become my main priority. Then I realized I was in the labyrinth all alone. Neither of the human groups was in the room anymore. Whether they had finished off all the skeletons or they had fled because of the fear spell, it seemed the imp's aura must have done its job well. Sadly, I didn't learn that spell as well. Perhaps it wasn't magic at all. I quickly cleared away my pop-up windows, but stopped on one that caught my attention. You've advanced to an intermediate understanding of blue magic pain. The spell's stun time has increased from 5 seconds to 10. Alright guys, that's the end of the sample. Again, was Underworld, Level Up or Die by Apollos Thorne. I thought it was really good. It's very funny. I will probably buy this one. I'm definitely interested to see what happens next. Anyway guys, I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I also hope you have a good day, a good night, a good week, a good weekend, whatever time it is when you're watching this, and I will talk to you next time.